Megan had been enduring harassment from her mother and father-in-law ever since she got married. From their first meeting, her mother-in-law, Debbie, openly disliked her and frequently criticized her for various reasons. "Your cooking is bad, you are slow with housework. You don't support your husband." Megan was constantly subjected to Debbie's harsh words in her everyday life. Her father-in-law, John, also tormented Megan, echoing his wife's sentiments. It seemed that nothing Megan did pleased them. Especially her inability to have children made her a perfect target for their attacks. "Hurry up and show us our grandchild's face. Don't you have what it takes to be a mother?" These daily accusations left Megan physically and mentally exhausted. Kevin, Megan's husband, not only failed to stop his parents' behavior but had also begun to treat Megan with a cold demeanor himself. One day he said to Megan, "Your sister is young and beautiful, and unlike you, she had kids right away. I truly envy her husband." These words deeply wounded Megan's heart. Living day by day was nothing but suffering for Megan, who had thought about divorce many times. However, she didn't want to give up her job and the career she had built over the years with her effort. She also did not want to worry her parents and friends. Amidst this, Megan decided to resolve her situation for her own dignity and future. Megan worked in the overseas business department of a mid-tier trading company, valuing her career highly. Her job was demanding, oftentimes involving international projects, which added to the mental burden from her stressful life at her in-laws. While her colleagues and superiors highly regarded her at work, this ironically made her a target for further criticism at her in-laws as a workaholic who neglects her family. Her parents were also worried about her, but Megan, who had been independent since her university days, did not seek their help directly. Her desire to solve her own problems only deepened her isolation and forced her to endure a lonely battle at her in-laws. Debbie, in particular, maintained a strict attitude towards Megan. Being overprotective of her son, Kevin, Debbie's twisted love was directed harshly towards her. She often told Kevin, "You could have married someone better," continuously undermining Megan's presence. Consequently, Megan's self-esteem gradually declined, making it difficult for her to feel confident about herself. John also criticized Megan regularly, influenced by his wife's behavior. After retiring, he had nothing much to do and spent more time with his wife, which made him more susceptible to her influence. He, too, often blamed Megan for not having children. In such an environment, Megan slowly nurtured a fighting spirit within herself. She determined to stand up and defend her dignity against her in-laws' harassment. She felt the need to formulate a concrete plan to escape this difficult situation. Megan had always been tormented by her cynical in-laws and their criticism for not having children since the beginning of her marriage. Recently, Kevin had also begun to align with his parents' words, treating Megan coldly. While enduring life at her in-laws, Megan continued to focus on her career. Achieving self-actualization through her work was also a salvation for Megan. She believed in her abilities and continued to strive for success at her workplace. In her private life, Megan found a new hobby that helped maintain her mental balance. She started practicing yoga and meditation to refresh her mind and body, which helped her relieve stress and positively face the tough situation at her in-laws. Megan also cherished her friendships, drawing emotional support from them. She looked forward to spending weekends with them, finding solace in these moments. They understood her struggles and continually offered words of encouragement. One day, a friend invited Megan to a seminar on women's rights and self-empowerment. She attended the seminar and learned a lot. The experience was invigorating for Megan, reminding her of the importance of controlling her own life. With new insights from the seminar, Megan reevaluated her life and seriously considered how to improve her relationship with her in-laws. She resolved to stand up for her rights and take a firm stance against her mother and father-in-law. She had endured enough and felt she had reached her limit. Megan learned to assert herself and claim her rights, gaining strength in both her professional and personal life. This resolve became a turning point that significantly changed her life. Despite the harsh conditions at her in-laws, Megan continued to build her career. She remained committed to self-empowerment and vowed to live strongly, without succumbing to her in-laws' malignant behavior. A strong will to establish her dignity and restore her honor grew within her. Megan remained dedicated to her goals. Her work performance improved, and her efforts were increasingly recognized. As she tackled new projects, she maximized her potential and secured opportunities to demonstrate her capabilities. Feeling her personal growth, Megan renewed her resolve to live positively. She saw many possibilities for her future and committed to giving her all to realize them. Megan's life was far from over. She was determined to overcome her past sufferings and move toward a brighter future, believing in the promising prospects ahead. At 34, Megan met Kevin at a city-sponsored social event she attended at the urging of a college friend. In her 4th year at work, she was finally getting accustomed to her job. Although not particularly interested in marriage, she decided to participate after strong encouragement from her friend. At the event, rather than actively socializing, Megan was more interested in the special menu and enjoyed the food. Kevin was also there, accompanying a friend, and he too seemed less than enthusiastic about being there. Megan didn't exchange contact details with Kevin at the social event, expecting their interaction to be brief. However, a week later, an unknown number began to call Megan's cell phone. Initially, she ignored it, but after repeated calls every 10 minutes after work, she answered out of irritation to find out who it was. It turned out to be Kevin. "Ah, thank God it's your phone number, right, Megan?" Kevin had gotten her number through a friend and was trying to reach her. Despite being exasperated by his desperate demeanor, Megan found him endearing and decided to keep in touch. A year later, Kevin proposed, and they got married. Megan hoped that Kevin's calm and gentle nature would lead to a peaceful life together. Initially, their marriage was indeed happy. They enjoyed their newlywed life, sharing dreams and hopes for the future. However, over time, the pressure from Kevin's mother, Debbie, and father, John, gradually increased. Not having children became a major issue, and Megan was subjected to daily pressure. Debbie would demand, "Show us our grandchild soon," and Kevin echoed, "Don't you have what it takes to be a mother?" Megan underwent medical tests, but no issues were found. However, the results only added to her pain, facing the reality that she could not meet her in-laws' expectations. Kevin, lacking understanding of Megan's feelings, began to show a colder demeanor. At work, Megan was successfully building her career, but at home she felt isolated. Debbie criticized her as a career woman who neglects her family, and John agreed. Kevin, busy with work himself, rarely attended to family matters, leaving Megan to struggle alone in her in-laws' home. Megan often wondered why she had to suffer so much all by herself. She tried hard to balance family and work, but the harsh words from her in-laws nearly broke her spirit. Debbie, in particular, pressured her daily, saying, "A daughter-in-law who doesn't care about family is a failure." The turning point for Megan's doubts about her relationship with Kevin came when Debbie began openly expressing suspicions about her. Debbie blamed Megan for every household mishap or for being busy at work. But the most hurtful accusations were about her inability to have children. One day, Debbie chillingly said, "Isn't it because you're having an affair that you can't have children?" She spat out these words, deeply wounding Megan. John, too, agreed, "Yes, it's because you're having an affair that you can't have Kevin's children." Megan was unable to counter their baseless accusations. Their attacks were so irrational that she was left speechless. Kevin, too, seemed to believe his mother's words and took on a cold attitude. "Why are you always working so late?" One evening, Kevin confronted her. His voice was laced with suspicion and mistrust. "Are you really having an affair?" Filled with shock and sadness, Megan realized Kevin did not trust her. She was heartbroken and felt nothing but despair, wondering why she was unjustly suspected when she was only busy with work. Debbie, as if to add insult to injury, threatened to hire a detective to monitor Megan's actions and install hidden cameras to gather evidence. Megan was shocked to find she was completely distrusted, and it nearly broke her spirit. Despite the harsh conditions at her in-laws, Megan continued to build her career. She remained committed to self-empowerment and vowed to live strongly, without succumbing to her in-laws' malignant behavior. A strong will to establish her dignity and restore her honor grew within her. Knowing that Debbie harbored baseless suspicions against her, Megan felt her anxiety and anger swell. Debbie believed Megan was having an affair and was unscrupulous in her efforts to prove it. Megan decided to hire a detective to prove her innocence and counter Debbie's unjust actions. The detective was tasked with documenting daily life at the in-laws and gathering evidence of Debbie's malicious behavior. Megan stood up to regain her honor without being manipulated by her any longer. Megan also resolved to take a firm stance against John, who had echoed Debbie's accusations. His cold gaze and words were unbearable, but Megan never gave in. One day, Megan decided to confront him directly. She spoke calmly, "I have done nothing wrong. I know Debbie is monitoring me, but I will not yield to it." John showed a brief expression of surprise before his gaze turned cold again, and he simply said, "We'll see when the evidence comes out." That night, Megan sat deep in thought in her room. She continued to ponder how to overcome the situation and resolved to be strong not only against her in-laws, but also within herself. Megan then reevaluated her life and decided to value herself more. She took up painting as a new hobby. Painting brought her peace of mind and offered an escape from the harsh realities, even if only temporarily. Through painting, Megan could face herself and express her inner feelings. Megan started paying more attention to her health. By jogging every morning, she could exercise and release stress. Through jogging, she gained new energy, which helped her deal with life at her in-laws more positively. Megan also decided to participate in local volunteer activities. Interacting and helping people in her community helped her reaffirm her sense of purpose. The gratitude and smiles she received through volunteering lit a warm light in Megan's heart and supported her. Through volunteering, Megan made new friends. These friends understood Megan's troubles and encouraged her. The interaction with these new friends became a significant support for Megan, becoming a pillar for her emotional well-being. Megan reconsidered her life and seriously thought about how to improve her relationship with her in-laws. She decided to stand up for her rights and adopted a firm attitude towards her mother-in-law, Debbie, and father-in-law, John. She had been patient, but she felt she had reached her limit. Megan's resolve became stronger, and she was determined to fight fully to protect her rights. The battle with her mother-in-law was not easy, but Megan never gave up and continued to fight to regain her honor. A strong will to establish herself and restore her honor resided in her heart. While enduring unjust treatment from her mother-in-law, Debbie, and cold behavior from her husband, Kevin, Megan was planning to prove her innocence. She explained the details to a detective, asking him to monitor Debbie's actions and gather evidence. The detective quickly began his work, documenting how Debbie was cornering Megan. Over several weeks, the detective meticulously tracked Debbie's actions, installing hidden cameras and collecting conversations about Megan. Using this evidence, Megan planned a gathering of relatives. She intended to expose what Debbie was doing to undermine her and restore her honor in front of the relatives. Megan decided to use Debbie's birthday celebration. She chose to reveal the evidence at this annual family gathering to maximize its impact. She asked the detective to edit the video for clarity. The video detailed how Debbie was monitoring Megan and falsely accusing her. As the day approached, Megan's tension increased. While worried about how the relatives would react, her determination to reveal the truth was unwavering. She prepared to prove how unjustly she had been treated to the entire family. A few days before the day of the reveal, Megan had a final meeting with the detective. He explained each piece of evidence and had Megan confirm the content of the video. The video detailed the means Debbie used to surveil her. Watching it, Megan reaffirmed the unjust treatment she had endured and renewed her resolve with anger. The detective also advised Megan on how to present the video to the relatives and points to consider during playback. Megan followed the detective's advice, crafting a way to convey her message calmly and effectively. She believed this video would be decisive evidence to restore her honor and was confident in the plan's success. That night, Megan reviewed the video multiple times alone, simulating the flow of the planned day. She thought in detail about how she would speak and the timing for playing the video. She also prepared to calm her nerves with deep breaths. The day before the birthday party, Megan emailed the relatives. She wrote, "I have something I want to show you all tomorrow without revealing more details." The relatives were, though puzzled, curious about what was to happen. That night, Megan hardly slept due to a mix of nerves and excitement. She reflected on her painful past days and hoped this would mark a new step for her. She believed that proving her innocence and exposing Debbie's unjust actions would free her from past suffering. As the night deepened, Megan steeled herself internally. She felt she needed to be strong and was convinced of the plan's success. Anger at her mother-in-law and the determination to uphold justice fueled her resolve. Finally, after checking the video one last time and confirming everything was ready, Megan went to bed. She fell into a deep sleep, dreaming of success and the relatives supporting her, with Debbie's schemes being exposed. The next morning, Megan felt the decisive moment had arrived and braced herself for the day. All preparations were complete. It was finally time to reveal the truth and restore her honor. Megan woke up early on the day of the event and did a final check of the video. The detective had prepared it perfectly, and Megan was confident it would prove her innocence as she headed to the family gathering. The birthday party was held on a grand scale, with luxurious food and decorations laid out, and the relatives were chatting happily in a warm atmosphere. Megan, observing this scene, encouraged herself internally. It was finally time to reveal the truth. During the party, Megan, determined, took the microphone. All eyes were on her, and she took a deep breath to calm herself. "Thank you all for gathering here today," she began quietly. "Actually, I have something I want to show you." The relatives quieted down, curious about what Megan was about to present. She pointed to the screen and projector, ready to play the video collected by the detective. "This video is evidence of the unfair treatment I have been receiving. Please watch it to the end." As the video started, the expressions of the relatives turned serious. It clearly showed Debbie monitoring Megan and hiring a detective to gather evidence against her. As Debbie's actions and conspiracies were exposed one by one, shock and anger spread among the relatives. Debbie, unable to hide her turmoil, turned red and averted her gaze. Megan watched her calmly and waited for the video to finish. Once it ended, Megan took the microphone again. "Everyone, this is what has been done to me. I am innocent. Please know this fact." The relatives were initially speechless, but one by one, they approached Megan and encouraged her. They believed in Megan's innocence and condemned Debbie's actions. Debbie could say nothing in return and merely kept silent. Afterwards, Megan calmly spoke to her father-in-law. "This is what has been done to me. Your doubts about me were based on Debbie's conspiracy. I have done nothing wrong." Her father-in-law was confused by Megan's words and could not respond. He realized he had been complicit in Debbie's schemes, and his expression showed deep regret. He offered an apology to Megan, who merely nodded quietly. The relatives continued to encourage Megan, firmly believing in her innocence. Megan's plan succeeded, and her honor was restored. Debbie's conspiracy was exposed, and Megan's innocence was proven in front of all the relatives, allowing her to take a new step forward. As the party was nearing its end, the relatives expressed their gratitude to Megan and showed their support for her. They promised to continue to stand on her side. Megan was thankful for their words and renewed her resolve to move forward positively in life. Megan felt a strong will to establish herself and restore her honor. She had become stronger by overcoming this difficult situation. Believing in herself, she was determined to keep moving forward. Megan successfully proved her innocence in front of the relatives, which had a significant impact on them. Amidst increasing criticism of Debbie and John, their plans completely fell apart. The next day, the rapid decline of her in-law's home began. Debbie, faced with criticism from the relatives, became mentally unstable and withdrew into her home. Her once confident demeanor was gone, replaced by a frightened expression. John also felt the harsh stares of the relatives, and his dignity was lost. He deeply regretted how his actions had damaged the entire family. However, his apologies did not reach Megan, and their relationship was irreversibly severed. Megan's husband, Kevin, also had to acknowledge his mistakes during this incident. He regretted not believing his wife and blindly accepting his mother's words. Yet he was unable to express his remorse to Megan, and his heart was filled with regret and self-loathing. The collapse of the in-laws' house was a closure for Megan. She was freed from her past suffering and resolved to walk towards a new future. She vowed to further polish her career at work and continue pursuing her dreams. One day, Megan received a letter. It was from a lawyer she had introduced to a friend. The letter praised Megan's courage and decisions and offered to help if needed in the future. Reading it, Megan felt she had a strong ally. Megan embraced a new resolve and took the first step to rebuild her life. she decided to move away from Kevin and her in-laws. Ending their relationship was an inevitable decision to carve out her future. Megan put more effort into her job. She joined new projects and led her team to success, continuously proving her worth. Her efforts were highly valued at work, and opportunities for further promotion came her way. One day, Megan was appointed by her boss as the leader of a new project aimed at overseas expansion. It was a large-scale project expected to fully utilize her capabilities. Megan resolved to make the most of this opportunity and dedicated herself to the project. Moreover, using her experiences, Megan began to offer support to her colleagues at work. She encouraged those facing difficulties and provided advice, enhancing the team's morale. Her leadership was highly regarded throughout the workplace, and she earned deep trust from those around her. With new goals and a commitment to her daily efforts, Megan felt her growth. Overcoming her past hardships, she found a stronger, more certain version of herself. A promising future lay ahead, and she was ready to walk confidently towards it. Megan's life moved on to a new stage. She renewed her commitment to believe in herself and chase her dreams, keeping hope for the future in her heart. Having overcome the harrowing events at her in-laws, she had secured a brighter, more prosperous future. Just as Megan was about to restart her life after overcoming the collapse of her in-laws' home, dark clouds loomed again. She received news that Debbie had fallen ill due to stress and John was overwhelmed with caregiving. Megan was moving forward positively in her life, but she was not completely free from the issues of her in-laws' home. As Debbie's condition worsened, John reached out wanting to talk. Megan had a bad feeling but decided to face this unavoidable reality and visited her in-laws' home. Upon arriving, she found Debbie lying in bed with John by her side, looking exhausted and regretful. "Megan, I am sorry," John began with a heavy tone. "I will take full responsibility for Debbie's actions. However, I need more cooperation from you. Kevin is reflecting on his actions, and I think as a family, we should help each other." While Megan listened to John's words, she felt a strong resistance internally. She had worked hard to regain her life, and she wanted to avoid being entangled in her in-laws' problems again. However, seeing John's desperate expression, she decided to hear him out. That night, Megan met with Kevin. He looked thinner and more worn than before, his expression one of deep regret. "Megan, I'm truly sorry. I didn't understand anything about my mother or about you. Can we start over?" Megan was shaken by Kevin's words, but she quickly composed herself. His apology seemed sincere, but the wounds she had suffered were too deep. She wanted to avoid repeating the same mistakes. Later, the situation at her in-laws' home worsened. Debbie's health did not improve, and John collapsed from the strain of caregiving. The financial situation at her in-laws' house became dire, and their dependency on Megan increased. She analyzed the situation calmly and decided to distance herself from her in-laws once again. During this time, it was discovered that Kevin had betrayed her again. He had accrued a significant debt behind her back, claiming it was for his mother's care. As Kevin scrambled to resolve his family's financial issues, he even resorted to illegal means. When Megan learned of this, she was struck by deep despair. Faced with Kevin's betrayal, Megan felt her life crumbling again. She felt as if all her efforts had been in vain. Enveloped by deep sadness and disappointment, she decided to divorce Kevin and consulted a lawyer. The lawyer listened to Megan's story and promised to proceed with the legal process swiftly. Megan took the final step to completely sever ties with her in-laws. She was determined to stand up again and reclaim her life. As the divorce proceedings with Kevin progressed, Megan also faced a period of significant change at work. While working on a new project, she made time to rebuild her life and reflect on herself. She prepared to move forward into a new future, overcoming her past hardships. One day, while talking with a colleague at work, Megan realized how much she had grown. She shared her experiences and offered encouragement, bringing hope to those around her. Her leadership was highly valued at work, and she was regaining her confidence. Megan realized how strong she had become and renewed her determination to live positively. She was ready to move forward into a promising future, having overcome her past tragedies. She had gained a stronger, brighter future because of her experiences. While proceeding with the divorce from Kevin, Megan felt her life changing significantly. She hoped to be freed from the unhappiness surrounding her by ending her marriage to Kevin, but it came with significant costs. As the divorce process progressed, the situation at her in-laws worsened. Kevin's debts grew, and funds for Debbie's care and John's living expenses were depleted. Debbie's condition worsened, and she became bedridden. John also collapsed from caregiving fatigue, and the in-laws' house was on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, Megan continued her battle for divorce alongside her lawyer. Initially, Kevin resisted the divorce, but he eventually acknowledged his mistakes and agreed to it. However, through this process, Megan lost a lot. She completely lost the family she had built over the years and her love for Kevin. On the day the divorce was finalized, Megan felt enveloped in deep loneliness. She was overwhelmed by a sense of loss, realizing that everything she had built had crumbled. She was caught between anxiety about the future and pain from the past. After the divorce, Megan decided to rebuild her life by finding a new home and refocusing on her career at work. She encouraged herself and worked hard to make a new start. However, during this process, she was painfully aware of how much she had lost. The collapse of her in-laws' home also became an unavoidable reality. As Kevin struggled to repay his debts, he was unable to continue working and was eventually fired. His debts snowballed, and there was no prospect of repayment. John, unable to escape the exhaustion and financial difficulties of caregiving, was eventually forced to enter a care facility. Debbie also ended up in a care facility, where her self-esteem completely disappeared. Megan decided to concentrate on her career at work to rebuild her life. She took on new projects and led her team to success, trying to regain her self-esteem. However, deep inside, she still felt the sorrow and pain of her losses. One day, while talking with a colleague at work, Megan opened up about her feelings. Her colleague listened intently and offered words of encouragement. "Megan, you are truly strong. You have overcome so many difficulties. You will surely be okay." Encouraged by these words, Megan teared up. Although she was acutely aware of her losses, she found new hope. She regained the courage to overcome her past pain and start moving towards the future. Megan decided to face forward without looking back at her past to make a new start. She believed in herself and vowed to live her life powerfully. She was prepared to walk step by step towards an unseen future, having overcome past tragedies. At this point, Megan, feeling the magnitude of her losses, harbored new hope and determination. Her life was not over yet, and she vowed to continue growing while facing difficulties. As Megan was about to make a new start after finalizing her divorce from Kevin, further tragedies were unfolding at her in-laws' home. Debbie and John had entered a care facility, but their life was far from easy. The cost of living in the facility was mounting, and Kevin's debts were growing. Kevin spent his days chased by debt repayments, physically and mentally exhausted. He lost his job and struggled to find new employment, but his past record and debt issues weighed heavily on him. Despite his efforts to support his family, they were unrewarded, and he stood on the brink of despair. One day, Kevin was cornered by debt collectors and became involved in a violent incident. Burdened with massive debts and with no way out, the pressure from the collectors increased daily, and Kevin found himself in a life-threatening situation. Meanwhile, Debbie couldn't bear life in the care facility and became mentally ill. She couldn't let go of her obsession with Megan and became increasingly unstable without regretting her past actions. John also failed to adapt to life in the care facility and gradually deteriorated in health. When Kevin's despair reached its peak, he decided to end his life. He left a suicide note, writing about his mistakes and apologies to his family. The note revealed his deep regrets and the extent of his suffering. When Kevin's death was discovered, his in-laws' home completely collapsed. Debbie was shocked by the news and became even more mentally ill. She could no longer continue living in the care facility, and her condition worsened. John also carried deep sorrow over his son's death and deteriorated in health. Megan, upon receiving the news of Kevin's death, was struck by deep sadness and complex emotions. His death was unexpected, and it was a great shock to her. She couldn't forgive Kevin's mistakes, but she expressed condolences for his death and prayed for his soul to rest in peace. After Kevin's death, Megan decided to completely sever her ties with her in-laws. She vowed to overcome her past suffering and move forward with new hope. She concentrated on her career at work and was determined to carve out her future by continuing her personal growth. Megan continued to excel at work even after Kevin's death. She took on new projects and led her team to success, continuously proving her worth. Her efforts were highly valued at work, and she had opportunities for further promotion. Megan also used her experiences to provide support to her colleagues at work. By offering words of encouragement and advice to colleagues facing difficulties, she played a role in boosting the morale of the entire team. Her leadership was highly valued throughout the workplace, and she earned deep trust from those around her. Having overcome the tragedy of Kevin's death, Megan felt stronger. She was ready to move forward into a new future, having overcome her past hardships. Her life was not yet over, and she vowed to continue growing while facing difficulties. Megan was determined to walk powerfully towards a future that lay before her. By overcoming past tragedies, she had gained a stronger, more radiant future. One day, Megan was called in by her boss. He praised her efforts and achievements, offering her a new opportunity. "Megan, your work has been outstanding. I want you to take the lead on our new international project," he said. Megan felt a mix of surprise and joy at this opportunity, which marked a significant step in her career and the beginning of a new chapter. Megan was determined to make the most of this opportunity. She familiarized herself with the project details, planned and selected her team members. Her leadership and passion inspired the team, and the project progressed smoothly. Through this process, Megan felt her growth. She had become stronger and more confident than before by overcoming her past struggles. She had enhanced her ability to handle difficult situations and was ready to face new challenges. As the project progressed, Megan focused on maximizing each team member's potential. She respected their opinions and maintained close communication, which boosted the team's morale. Her leadership positively affected the entire team, and the project moved forward successfully. Moreover, Megan shared her learned experiences with her colleagues to support their growth. She offered words of encouragement and advice to colleagues facing difficulties, playing a role in enhancing the team's overall morale. Her leadership was highly valued throughout the workplace, and her credibility continued to grow. Megan's efforts paid off, and the project concluded successfully. Her achievements were praised company-wide, and she was presented with further opportunities for promotion. She felt her efforts were rewarded and was motivated to continue on her path. Privately, Megan also decided to make a fresh start. She moved past her previous pain and took steps to build new relationships. She valued her friendships and discovered new hobbies and interests to enrich her life. One day, at an event she attended at a friend's invitation, Megan met a man who was also looking to start anew. He, too, had overcome painful experiences and was seeking a new life. They connected over common interests and built a mutually supportive relationship. Through this relationship, Megan found love and trust again. She overcame her past pain and found a partner to move forward positively. She was determined to nurture this new love and walk through life together. Megan's life became filled with hope again. She was ready to walk strongly towards a promising future, having overcome her past sorrows. She was prepared to step forward into the unfolding future. This was Megan's breakthrough to the third act, the beginning of a new life. She vowed to continue believing in her strength, facing difficulties, and growing. Megan was enjoying fulfilling days both at work and privately. After her divorce from Kevin, she overcame her past struggles and rediscovered herself. The success of her new project catapulted her career further, making her a respected figure in her company. Her efforts and passion were highly valued throughout the company, and she was soon called in by her boss for another promotion. "Megan, your work is truly excellent. I want you to take charge as the head of our new overseas branch," he said. Megan felt her efforts were truly rewarded and was emotionally moved. Accepting her new role, Megan energetically prepared for the launch of the overseas branch. She communicated closely with the local staff and detailed the project plans. Her leadership and passion were conveyed to the whole team, and the project progressed smoothly. Megan's new role was demanding, but she took great pride in her career. Her efforts were appreciated by the local staff, and the entire team worked together to lead the project to success. Her leadership not only facilitated the smooth launch of the overseas branch, but also positively affected the local business environment. Privately, Megan was also building a new life. She cherished her interactions with friends, and her relationship with her new partner progressed well. He was impressed by Megan's efforts and passion and committed to supporting her fully. Together, they overcame past pains and collaborated to build a new future. One day, Megan and her partner decided to take a short trip to value their time together. They relaxed in a beautiful natural setting, enjoying a break from daily stresses. During this time, they discussed their future and shared their dreams and hopes, deepening their bond. After returning from the trip, Megan's life continued to be fulfilling. She continued her success at work while also feeling happy in her personal life. Her efforts and passion positively influenced those around her, and her environment was always filled with smiles and warmth. Megan, walking her new life path, realized that her past experiences had made her stronger and facilitated her growth. She renewed her determination to live positively and continued to pursue her dreams. She was prepared to step towards an infinite future, filled with hope and dreams. Megan's life was not just built by her efforts and determination. She continued to walk her path, believing in the endless possibilities ahead. She was ready to walk strongly towards those possibilities, filled with hope and dreams. Megan's new life continued with anticipation for a bright future. She successfully launched the overseas branch and established the business there, achieving significant milestones in her career. Her leadership influenced many, and her reputation at work continued to rise. Her personal life was also fulfilling. The days she spent with her new partner brought her healing and joy. They supported each other and shared hopes for the future, building new bonds. They valued their time together and supported each other's dreams. One day, they made a significant decision looking towards the future. He proposed to Megan, and she accepted his offer. They vowed to walk a new life together, overcoming past pains. In that moment, Megan felt she had found love and trust again, enveloped in happiness. The wedding was a wonderful celebration of their new start. Megan's friends and colleagues joined in the celebration, sharing her happiness. She had become stronger by overcoming past difficulties and was filled with hope for the future. As they exchanged vows at the wedding, Megan reaffirmed her commitment to her new life. After the wedding, Megan and her partner set up a new home and decided to build a future together. While continuing her career at work, she valued her family life and strove for a balanced lifestyle. Her efforts and passion remained constant, and she enjoyed fulfilling days both at work and at home. Life in their new home marked the beginning of a new adventure for Megan. She took time to reflect on herself and reaffirmed what was most important in her life. She felt that pursuing her dreams and cherishing bonds with people around her were most crucial. Her success at work continued, and she took on more projects, leading new ventures to success and enhancing her company's reputation. Her leadership and passion positively affected her colleagues, boosting the morale of the entire team. Megan's life was built on her own efforts and determination. She overcame her past struggles and was able to walk strongly towards a new future. Infinite possibilities lay before her, and she walked towards that future filled with hope and dreams. She vowed to continue believing in her own strength, facing challenges while continuing to grow. Megan believed her life was far from over, and that new challenges and successes awaited her. As she walked this new path in her life, Megan maintained a sense of gratitude towards many people. The bonds she formed with friends, colleagues, and her new partner became a significant source of strength for her. She pledged to continue pursuing her dreams and to cherish the bonds with the people around her while building a radiant future. Megan's story demonstrated the true happiness that comes from overcoming difficulties and the importance of maintaining one's convictions. By believing in her strength and continuing to walk towards the future, she was able to seize endless possibilities. Her life was set to be filled with new adventures and successes, promising a future as bright as her renewed hopes.